we were talking about this whole NIL thing going on nowadays, and it's just running rampant. And a lot of this, my thought process came from talking with Deuce and the decisions that he's made. And I'm like, would I have transferred when I was at Carolina? And for me, I don't think I would have transferred just because I didn't have that notoriety like that. I think for me, my best move was staying at Carolina. It was to play those 4 years at Carolina, and I think that really helped me. I don't think I was ever in a situation where somebody would have offered me six figures to go to another school, whereas you, on the other hand, you were, I almost said Pac-12, Big Ten, like, what was it, Lineman of the Year? You won Defensive Player of the Year. Like, tell us about some of the accolades.
To an extent, coming out even from high school, like I was a Parade All-American second team, really? Like I was a Tom Lemming All-American. And it was crazy because at the time, like I told you from that first interview, I didn't even get All-State in my own state.
Really?
Like literally based off of numbers and based off of measurements. Literally, that's what I figured out is that I was able to jump up in categories. Like literally, this kid is the best, as far as measurements and talent-wise that you have at this position. So all of your universities should be looking at him. Now, given that notoriety, I wonder, would I have transferred from Wisconsin? Having that, because obviously that notoriety at that time as opposed to this time, you're way more out there.
Where would you have transferred, though? Like, I mean, are you talking about like your first year or two there? You would have thought about transferring?
I'm saying I would have thought about possibly transferring, maybe not even going to Wisconsin, because coming out of high school, being a second team All-American, I think at that time, given this time, I would have had way more choices. Oh. So I think at the time,
so you'd have been a bigger deal, is what you're saying?
I think I possibly would have been a bigger deal.
Excuse me.
Well, yeah, just, and that's only my feelings of that are only based off of what the climate that we're in now.
Right.
What the kids are able to deal with. Back then, we had, Tom Lemming, we had a couple of little, publications like that, but it wasn't really a way for the scouts unless you really sent your guys out there to really, be seeing the kids here and there. And then it was only regional. You had a guy, he went to the West Coast. You had a guy who went to the East Coast, and a guy went to the South, and a guy went to the Midwest. And he didn't even get to see all the kids.
Didn't see everybody.
Over the course of the last 10 to 15 years, with as much exposure these kids have been able to have with the social media and everything else, like you could see a kid working out. Yeah. So even if he does it, he might not even be getting thrown the ball, but that doesn't matter to you as a scout, and that doesn't matter to you as a recruiter, because you're like, you will fit in here, and I will give you the chance to get that ball.
See, I was very different. Like, I don't remember all my accolades coming out of high school. Like, that's just so long ago. But I just know for me, being at Carolina, like, I had to go through the grind. I got there. I don't know if I was highly recruited. I had, like, Michigan State, Maryland, North Carolina. Like, I had a few schools that were after me, but it was, like, Carolina, home team. I've always been a Tar Heel fan. So when I went there, I look back on all that and the good times that I had and everything that happened. I don't think there was anything that happened when I was at Carolina from my freshman year to my senior year where I was like, I'm unhappy here. This sucks. They're out to get me. Nobody's giving me a chance. I came in. I redshirted. After my redshirt year, I was starting. So for me, my road was just kind of like, hey, this is good. You're good where you are. But I don't know what I would have done if going into my junior year or going into my senior year, somebody would have been like, Florida State comes along and said, Russell, we're going to give you $100,000 to come play here. I'm like, I don't know if that would have happened for me because I look back at my stats and I'm like, well, I wasn't some standout guy like that. But then I thought about you and coming in today and I'm like, well, Wendell was like Big Ten D Lineman of the Year. You were Player of the Year. Like, when did you get Player of the Year? Was it
I got Player was junior, senior year.
Junior, you got it both years.
Junior, senior year, yeah. Was Defensive Lineman of the Year, junior, senior year.
Okay, so after your
first team All-American, like my senior year, second team All-American, junior year, first team All Big Ten, sophomore year, freshman year, the Rose Bowl team, academic All Big Ten. Yeah. So I would have had to make some decisions for myself, given what we're in now, like before even going to Wisconsin, and then possibly I would have been able to have more of asking price. I'll say that asking price after that first Rose Bowl. But with it,
so what year was that? The Rose Bowl?
That was 98, 99.
Which was what year for you?
My freshman year. So after my freshman year, I would have been able to renegotiate.
Were you starting?
I didn't start going into the year, but I started the Rose Bowl, but I ended up starting probably midway or the last 4 games of my freshman year. I ended up starting. So the coach was trying to bring me in because my measurables at the time,
off the charts.
I'm 285 pounds. I'm 6'4", long ears, long arms. You know what I'm saying? Long legs, long arms, and I'm not even fully developed.
Yeah.
And I'm a baby.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say like a little baby deer still
get that
learning
boy
how
out
to play.
there. Just let him play. Like whatever. If he messes up, he messes up. But for the most part, just let him go and just let him keep rocking as far as possible.
And see, so let's just say, you play your freshman year, your sophomore year, you get all those accolades, everything that you've done. Now all of a sudden, the money comes into it. Now you got schools that reach out to you by whatever means. They reach out to you directly. They have somebody do it indirectly. However it's done, they talk to you. You think you would have chased the money?
I think I would have chased the money.
Really?
Only because of what climate that we're in.
No. I'm not even talking about the climate. I'm not even talking about that. I'm just saying, because I know for me, I don't think I would have. I'm looking at it from obviously a dad's perspective, 49 years old. I'm looking back at it, but I don't know if my accolades were high enough to start chasing that NIL money. I would have been scared because I would have been like, man, like what's going to happen? But when you have numbers like yours and when you're putting up stats like yours, it's easy to see how wanted you are. Whereas I was on a team with Greg Ellis, Vonnie Holiday, Dre Bly. Like there were other ballers on the team that almost in a way kept me in my place from the standpoint of, well, if these guys aren't going anywhere and they're not testing the market,
True.
I'm definitely not going to do it. But you set the tone on your team, though.
Right. But what if those guys would have tested? Just a question quick to you. What if those guys would have tested the market? Then that jumps you into a whole nother category because you are a starter, so you can ask for more. So I believe for us at the time, like obviously right now, and we're saying in hindsight, like at 49, you're like, I'm thinking about my own measurables and I'm thinking of everything I might not have had to.
Right.
You look at me like, okay, like you might have had that click to be able to do so. And I'm telling you, like, yeah, I would have made the click only because of me being able to be, as far as like with the accolades that I got, being able to have that asking price, being able to be like, well, coaches over here talking about doing this, I just got this. What are you guys talking about? Yeah. Like I wish we would have been able to have those conversations back in the day for myself, because as a junior, you're coming into a store. Like my mom took a picture, she's holding my jersey and whatever. Like,
see, I didn't have those kind of things. So our perspectives are very different.
Yeah. So she's bringing me $100, and then she's having a conversation. She's like, "You getting any money off of these jerseys or any stuff?" Like, I'm like, "No, Mom, we don't go. We're not supposed to get. We'll at the time and thinking of how crazy that thought process was. Like, we'll get in trouble. For getting some money for somebody wearing your jersey with that. They're only wearing it because you're the one that reps that and you're the one making the plays.
But that's not what they said though. It represents all the people that wore that number.
Everyone's like, but
nobody had on the back to me.
But nobody. My name's on the back. It's like, well, yeah, but I'm like, they know it's me. They're saying Wendell.
I'm gonna tell you, man. I'm listening to you. Like I said, I know that physically and what you did when you were in college, I would have been afraid, man. Like I would have seen if somebody would have offered me six figures, thinking about my mom, what six figures could have done for our family at the time. Like I wouldn't have had any further knowledge than $100,000. To me, at that time in 94, 95, 96, that would have been unheard of money. I would have been like, hell yeah, sign me up for it.
Say anything. Say $20,000. So we'll even account for inflation rate. So somebody giving you $20,000
would have been something to think about.
Yes.
Right. Would have been huge. And it's like, but I guess I would have been scared to take that chance. I guess that's what it comes down to, because I would have looked at things and been like, with my mom would have, that military upbringing, she was like, when you started here, we're going to finish
here.
It wouldn't have been about, she would have came to me and been like, I get it. This money could really help us do some things, but let's look at the bigger picture. Right. And I would have been afraid to step out in that water and be like, let me test this. But then as I'm thinking about these things, I'm like, God, well, Wendell had all these accolades.
Such an unknown to step out into. So I understand your apprehension with that. With me, I don't think I wouldn't have been apprehensive, only because of the accolades and the things that I had done after my freshman year. Yeah. If you have the cavalcator, you got the resume to ask for an asking price, then you ask for that. Because that's exactly what I tell the kids now. Oh yeah. I'm like, literally they calculated, I went back and calculated the money that they made, during the course of the time. And it was in essence like, $100 to $200 million. Now I know at least 5 or 6 dudes that unfortunately, were let go for scholarship purposes to clear room for other guys. Now, I think at that time, those things probably didn't need to happen, given the amount of money coming through. But, obviously there are, casualties within this war of football. But I wish this was going on during that time, because at least those guys would have been able to get something for their future, or for whatever they gave to the university. Because obviously I was practicing against somebody. You might be letting him go, but I needed him during the time, and he helped to make me better. And I wish I could. I wish I could help him.
Right,
but
like 10,000, 5,000, whatever it is, something in your pocket. So that was really something with you coming in today, because I was just thinking about that like all day today. And it was just on my mind, and I'm like, man, that man had so many accolades, and like, how would that? I mean, I started thinking like, well, what would this have done to his future? Like, if he had stayed at Wisconsin, is this the best move for him? Because staying at Wisconsin made you a top 15 pick. Does it just because you chase that money? And those are the things that I balance even now with my own kid. Like, what's the best move? Like, what's the best move?
I think you as a father have laid it out the best way, to where you're monitoring the decisions of your child and your son, but you're allowing them to make the decisions, but you're also understanding like, hey, this is the game that you're in now. Like, I wish it wasn't as cutthroat as it is, but literally in essence, it became, you're even more of a number now. So
absolutely.
It's about literally, you're even more of a number now, and now it's about you being out there, you being a person, you being a personality, being on social media, having followers and the rest of this stuff. And in essence, I'm thinking like, just play ball. And I feel so lucky. I feel so blessed to, at that time, to have been able to just play ball. Like, all I had to do was play ball and go to school. Like, literally, I had that plan from freshman year of high school all the way to the end. Now, I can only be super grateful to the fact that I had that, consistency. Because when you have because the things that Deucer is going through right now, like, I can only imagine. Like, that's crazy to me. And for me, I'm super proud of him. I think he's extremely tough for being able to come from one spot, but luckily he had the backing of a great father to be able to hand to a next spot. But for him, like, he can chase. And I think he's in the same position that I am. And I'm like, you're talented enough. You came out with the accolades. You taste, you go get yours. And I think I would have done the same thing based off of that. I would have been scared. But I would have. I'm even frightened thinking about it now. But given my situation, like, that feeling that I had junior year of seeing, things that I was a part of, or things that I actually wore, and I know they're repping me, but I'm not able to get any parts of that. And my mom, she's struggling, having to say that she, made less than what she made in order for me to get certain grants and different stuff like that. Even if it was like $1,000, $2,000 less, which is all it was. That Pell Grant, that's $1,600. I held that $1,600 down for 5 months.
Bro,
every year.
My mom, that was the thing. My mom made just enough to where she couldn't get the Pell Grant, but she couldn't send me money when I needed it. So it was like, man.